Hall of Fame talk. Some people are probably sick of the Hall of Fame talk, but I'm gonna issue my final decree. My ticker's at 6 seconds, so hopefully I've been longer than 6 seconds live. So my final thoughts on the class of 2023. Then we can move on. So we'll talk Hall of Fame, Hall of Very Good this morning. And since I see a lot of comments, so I think we're just gonna, instead of waiting an hour to get around to it, I think we're just gonna tackle it head on. Hall of Fame. But I do like talking about random stuff before I talk about the topic. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't feel right to just jump in. Feels like I'm walking out of the house naked. Nobody wants to picture that. Yesterday, we began framing. Framing began at the new house yesterday, the basement. So I will, I don't, maybe later today, I stopped in yesterday just to see how things were going. I don't understand how people can build houses. Mark Hoyle, shout out to Mark Hoyle. Shout out to people like Mark and my dad and my contractors. I don't know, like, as I was there, I'm just kind of just soaking it all in. My dad built the house I grew up in, and I was like 5 years old. And that was like the worst thing ever. We have to go to the new house. There's dad putting walls up or whatever dad's doing at the house. And it was boring as hell. We didn't even have TV. I couldn't watch cartoons. You know, you can play with your Matchbox cars long enough, but then it's like, okay, I'm bored. I don't know how contractors can like, I can't put a grill together. Have you ever tried to read instructions on like putting a grill together? I'm sure you have. But these people can like put a house together just looking at a plan. I don't understand it. Kudos, man. Kudos. But we had two guys there working on the framing, and one guy's looking at the plans, and he's like, hey, this isn't, we got a pocket door here. This isn't going to work. We've got 4 foot by 4'6" here. We need 6 extra inches. I don't know what that means. So Eric, our general, is like, okay, well, I guess we're going to have to make it 4 foot. He's like, average is 3 foot. So 4 foot. He looks at me, goes, you okay with that? And, yeah. Hey, you've got to be, I know it's our house, but if that's what it's got to work, my wife's the boss though. Like, you can take my word for it, but don't. I don't get it, man. I don't get how these guys can build houses based off a picture with numbers on it. I don't have, it takes a certain like line of thinking. Like, our brains think differently, and people that can do that are wired differently. I don't have that wiring, despite my dad having that wiring. My brother received that gene. I did not. I got the baseball card gene. Daniel Larson, let's just dive right into it. Let's just peel the Band-Aid right off. I guess we've already peeled the Hall of Fame Band-Aid days ago. We're just going to keep ripping it off. So Daniel's coming in hot on the chat. So let's go ahead and check in with Daniel Larson. What's up? If you let in Rolen, then you need to take a closer look at players like Torrey Hunter. Torrey had 9 Gold Gloves, 350 home runs, and at a lifetime 280 batting average, along with nearly 2,500 hits. And there you go. I'm going to jump on that, but I'm going to say hello. I'm going to say hello to the rest of the chat. So we'll dive right into Daniel's initial comment. Terry A is in the house. We've got Paige and Deanie Bean. What's up? Augusta, good morning. Max, what is up? Defense matters, right? James, good morning. So, James, I'm going to also tackle your comment as well. I think, James, this is the second person that's mentioned Santo and Rolen, and I'm guessing both of them were Cardinals fans. David, what's happening? Raphael, what's up? Terry, good morning. Ed, Boston Smoke. Herman, what's up? Victor, let's see. Cooter's making jokes about my 6-inch comment. Where's the bots? Let's see. Flipping Sports Guy is here. Clark, what's happening? Sal Dougie, good morning. Michael, George. Okay, let's tackle Daniel's comment. We're just diving right in. I hope people, yesterday I said, hey, if you want to hear about the topic, just skip ahead to the 55-minute mark. Don't do that today. We're just going to jump right in to Hall of Fame talk. So we're comparing Scott Rolen and Torrey Hunter, and here's where it gets dangerous. But we might as well get dangerous with Hall of Fame voting because we've got Scott Rolen, Fred McGriff, Harold Baines, Hall of Famers. Gil Hodges was elected after 60 freaking years. Come on. But we've got Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, Alex Rodriguez, Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, all these guys on the outside looking in. If we start comparing players, well, if Harold Baines is in, this guy is in. I mean, it's no longer the Hall of anything. It's just the Hall of Baseball. If we start crunching numbers and looking at players and, well, this guy had this guy had that, then it just becomes the Hall of Baseball. And Nelson Santovina has been elected to the Hall of Baseball because he wore a Montreal Expos jersey. Daniel says, those stats from Torrey Hunter all eclipse Scott Rolen. What I'm trying to say is Scott Rolen should not have made the Hall. There are about a dozen players who should be in who are not steroid users than Rolen. So, and my comment to that is you're exactly right. So I have the ballot pulled up. You know, we the writers elected. I almost said we. The writers elected Scott Rolen. You look, Daniel just dumped some stats on us on Torrey Hunter, and then if you start looking, I mean, Bobby Abreu. If Scott Rolen is in, if Harold Baines are in, Bobby Abreu should be in. Okay, Bronson Arroyo, he's not going to be in. Carlos Beltran should be in. Mark Burley, you could probably, Dan's probably already got an argument made up. Kane, Dickey, Ellsbury, Ethier, Hardy, no. Todd Helton, he'll get in next year. I thought he was going to get in this year. By the way, my predictions fell short. I was pretty close on Scott Rolen. My prediction on Scott Rolen, 75.8%. He finished at 76.3, so I was 0.5% off on Rolen. Helton, I way missed the mark. I said Helton was going to get elected with 77.1%. He fell short. He was just under 73%. So Todd Helton, he'll get in next year. Torrey Hunter, Daniel made the argument. Torrey Hunter's in. Andrew Jones should be in. Jeff Kent should be in. Okay, Lackey, Napoli, Peralta, no. Andy Pettit should be in. Manny Ramirez should be in. Alex Rodriguez should be in. Francisco Rodriguez should be in. Scott Rolen, well, he's in. Jimmy Rollins should be in. Gary Sheffield should be in. Houston Street, no. Omar Vizquel, probably. Billy Wagner, yes. Jared Weaver, Jason Worth, no. That's freaking half the ballot. Half the ballot should be in based on the criteria. If Rolen's in, if Baines is in, if these other guys are in, well, half this ballot should be in. So, good coffee. By the way, my coffee today, again, Trader Joe's. I'm using a creamer today. I think it's from International Delight. I'm not sure. But basically, I paid more because it's like a branding with Friends, which hasn't been on in, 20 years. Central Perk, hazelnut mocha, and it's not very good. I give it, it's better than pumpkin spice, but it's not that great. It's okay, but guess what? I'm stubborn, and I'm going to go through the rest of it. I'm going to suck it up for the next month as I consume this hazelnut mocha that I overpaid for because it's branded Friends, Central Perk, all that BS. Moving on, let's talk more Hall of Fame because I think there's another comment here coming up. Max says, we found out yesterday that a defense actually matters to the voters, not a Hall of Fame anymore, unfortunately. Talking about Scott Rolen. He was the only player elected on the writer's ballot yesterday. Max says, what I can't get over is how similar Scott Rolen and Aramis Ramirez were in terms of offensive numbers. Aramis had 1 year on the ballot while Rolen had, this was Rolen's, I think, 6th ballot. By the way, Scott Rolen, first ballot, 10%. 6th ballot, he's in the Hall of Fame. It's stupid. I think the voting process is stupid. I thought we were moving away from, well, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I get people want to quantify he's a Hall of Famer, but he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. That's how much of a Hall of Famer he is. I think we could just throw that crap out the window. That's just BS anymore. Maybe back in the 60s, 70s, that was the thing to do. Let's move on. Let's evolve here. But it seems like it's becoming more and more where Scott Rolen goes from 10% to Hall of Fame. Larry Walker, 10 years on the ballot. I think he went from like barely staying on the ballot his first year to being elected. I think Todd Helton had similar numbers. He's on the fringe. He'll get in next year. I think he started out 10, 15% on the ballot. And here we go. What makes the guy a Hall of Famer? I get it. I get it and I don't get it. Why is Scott Rolen a Hall of Famer today, but he wasn't 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago? I don't get it. James, I want to address James's comment here because this was also tweeted at me earlier this morning. If Rolen Santo is in the Hall of Fame, so should Scott Rolen. I agree and I disagree. Neither should be in the Hall of Fame as players. I think Rolen Santo should be in as a contributor. Whatever wing it is that Bud Selig is in, which, by the way, Bud Selig shouldn't be in. If you're not going to let Bonds, Clemens, Sosa, McGuire, Palmeiro, all those guys in, don't let Bud Selig in. That's another argument. But Rolen Santo, not a Hall of Fame player. I love Rolen Santo. Wasn't a Hall of Fame player. He was a Hall of Fame baseball guy, though. Kind of like, I don't want to call him a pioneer because he really didn't pioneer anything. But he was involved in the game of baseball for decades and decades in different capacities. Rolen Santo, Hall of Fame baseball guy, not player. So with that, I'll agree. Neither Rolen Santo nor Scott Rolen should be in the Hall of Fame as players. That's my opinion. I think James, I don't know if James is I think James is a Cardinals fan. And I know the other guy, he's a Cardinals fan that likes to poke that Cubby bear. I know he made that mention to get me going. Jason. Kurt Flood, there's a Cardinal. Kurt Flood should be in the Hall of Fame. Not as a player, but as a Hall of Fame baseball pioneer. I mean, Kurt Flood literally pioneered the game of baseball with free agency. Kurt Flood should be in the Hall of Fame as a contributor, pioneer. Rolen Santo should also be in as a baseball guy. Hey, maybe in 40 years, Scott Rolen, I know he's involved in the game of baseball. I think he's some type of coach in the college ranks. Hey, maybe in 40 years, if he's involved in the game of baseball and maybe he's a Hall of Fame baseball guy also, but he's not a Hall of Fame player in my book. Augusta says, one major point I'd like to make about Rolen is the hall is how people rank in their position. And one thing you need to understand, only 2 third basemen have more gold gloves. Yeah, but I get it, but look at his offense. His offensive numbers suck compared to the rest of the Hall of Fame and people at his position. And going with what Max says, like defense, I get it. I get Scott Rolen was a good defender, but there's more to it than just gold gloves. Let's look at his weak hitting stat. He barely had over 2,000 hits. And I think he might have the least amount of career hits among members of the Hall of Fame. Somebody cross-check me. Somebody double-check that stat. But I think he's definitely among, like, there's not too many, because I know there's nobody under 2,000 hits. And Rolen had, I think, less than 2,100 hits. I think, 2,077 career hits for Rolen. If there's any players in the Hall of Fame with less hits, there's just a couple. I get gold gloves should be part of the equation, but you can't sell me on Scott Rolen being a Hall of Famer because he has more gold gloves. That's a weak argument. Let's see. We said hi. Herman says, I think the direction baseball has affected the Hall of Fame. Let's see. Augusta says she knows what that means. Where's the bots? People don't realize the math and geometry that is required in carpentry. And that, my friends, is why I don't know anything about building, because I sucked at math and geometry. I can do some multiplication in my head really fast. And it's funny how, like, I suck at math and I suck at math, and geometry is like not even on the board of suckiness in my brain. But it astounds me how few people know how to math a simple tip at a restaurant. What's 20? It's like they get the bill. It's time to leave a tip. And all of a sudden, the deer in headlights look. What's 20%? It's like F&A. 20. What's your bill? $43.60? Okay, well, what's 10% of $43.60? $4.36. Take that multiplied by 2. What's that give you? $9.72? Is that right? $8.72. $8.72. There you go. There's 20%. You want to leave a little bit more? Go $9. Hey, what's 25%? Take half of 436. That's 218. Now, can you do that math? 218 plus 872. That's 82.90. $10.90. There's your 25%. It astounds me. But carpenters are probably looking at me like, well, how can you not know geometry? We're all wired differently. We all can math differently. But Cooter is exactly right. Math and geometry. And that's what, sidebar here. I wish I would have paid more attention in my various math classes, because once I got to college, when you take business classes, there's a lot of math. I didn't realize how much math was involved until I went into the business school. And then it's like, I think I'm going to get my MBA. And then I looked at all the accounting. It's like, well, that's another. I was already 30 at that point, which now it's like, damn, 30. I was just a young kid. And it's like, man, another 2 years. I just want to get out and get back into the workforce. And then I looked at the accounting and all the, and here I am selling baseball cards. Hey, it all worked out, right? I'm having fun. Flipping Sports Guy says, I'm annoyed with people saying the Hall shows defense matters. There's players with even more gold gloves than Rolen not in the Hall that were better hitters. Let's see. You don't know what inches mean. Try designing a kitchen with 10 different sizes and having everything have to line up perfectly. Imagine your dishwasher 2 inches too short and hitting a cabinet next to it. I know. That's why I just stay away from all that crap. I mean, promoting a card show, when I'm a learn by doing person. Like, you cannot show me a set of plans, no matter how dumbing down you make a set of plans. I can't follow it. When I first started the Madison Card Show, which, by the way, I tweeted out and I put it on Instagram, some comparison shots of the very first Madison Card Show in April of 2021 to this past Saturday. Those early days, and I remember 125 tables this past weekend. We had 17 at that first show, and I remember talking to I had a different contact at the hotel at that point. And I remember her saying, well, we could probably fit 50 tables. And I'm like, oh my God, we're never going to hit 50. If we hit 50 tables at this show, we're doing something really good. And then a few months later, it's like, how many tables do you have? Because I have demand for 150 or more. And I found out the hard way how many tables they actually had at the May show. Somebody said, Oh, you're not doing 3 rooms anymore. No, that was a one and done because I found out the hard way that they don't have as many tables as they told me because they have to double up anyway. I found out the math in trying to fit different size tables in a room, and now that I have the layout, it's like, oh, I know I have space over here, and I can if only the hotel had extra tables, I could squeeze a couple more in. Let's see. Flipping Sports Guy says saying defense matters now is just a cop-out excuse on why he deserved it. I agree. Paige and Deanie Bean says, Bo, the GC asking you if you were okay with that was the GC being nice and also a smartass. I think he was being both. Yes, he was being both because he knew the answer. I'm just like, yeah, sure, do whatever. Do whatever. Let's see. Sal Dougie says, good morning. Congrats to Rolen. Was hoping to see Billy Wagner make it. Billy Wagner will make it. What did he receive? 60, I think 63% of the votes. And he is on ballot number. Where's Billy? He's on ballot 8. So he does have some ground to make up. So I guess he's not. Todd Helton will get in, and Helton's only on his 5th. This was only Todd Helton's 5th ballot. So he will get in next year. Billy Wagner, he might make. There was some guys that really made up a ton of ground on getting on new ballots this year. But I think Billy Wagner will get in, whether it's next year or his final ballot in 2 years. But I think Wagner will get in. Carlos Beltran, I think, will get in. This was his first year on the ballot, and my thought process is some of the writers did not want to vote for him on the first ballot because they didn't want to make him a first ballot Hall of Famer because of the tainted Houston Astros banging on the drum thing. So he got, what did he get on total actual final? Thibodeau hasn't updated this. Or was that? Let's see. No, that's just public. Where's shit? Showing 53%, but I think that's public vote. 2023 Hall of Fame results. Here we go. MLB.com. Let's see. So Carlos Beltran, I think he was around 50%. As my website, as the computer is slow to open this website. Let's see. Come on. You can do it. Come on. Okay, here we go. Beltran, 46.5%. 46.5% for Carlos Beltran. So I think he'll get on. I think will it be next year? I don't think he'll make enough ground to get elected next year. But I think Beltran will get on in within 5 years. He'll be in the Hall of Fame within 5 years. I mean, he should be in the Hall of Fame. Let's see. Sheffield got 55%. Andrew Jones, 58%. Billy Todd Helton, 72%. Time is running out. Where did I say Jeff Kent? Jeff Kent was on 46.5, same as Beltran. But Kent that was Jeff Kent's final ballot. I think he'll get on at the next era committee. So Jeff Kent off the ballot, and but I think he'll get in on one of the era committee ballots. Where else? Who are some of those other guys I mentioned? Let's see. Sheffield, where was Sheffield at? This was Sheffield's 9th ballot. I don't think Sheffield gets in on the writers' ballots because next year will be his final ballot. Let's see. Alex Rodriguez. This was only his 2nd ballot. I think A-Rod might get in. A-Rod works in baseball, so I think he's gonna schmooze enough of the writers that he'll be able to get in because he's still got some time. I mentioned Wagner's 8th ballot. Andy Pettit, that was his 5th ballot. Manny Ramirez, his 7th ballot. Andrew Jones, that was Andrew Jones's 6th ballot. I think the next crop of I think the next players, deserving or not, just my prediction is that the next player that's going to see a Scott Rolen, Todd Helton like push will be Jimmy Rollins. I think this was only his 2nd ballot, and he only received 13% of the vote. I think Jimmy Rollins will be the next player that sees a sharp increase in voting and will eventually get in maybe on his, what did I say? It's his second ballot. I think Rollins matches Scott Rolen. I think by his sixth ballot, Jimmy Rollins will get in. So in 4 years, he's the next player that I think voters will like attach themselves to. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, everybody else is now voting for Jimmy Rollins. I've got to vote for Jimmy Rollins. Kind of what they did with Rolen and Helton here over the last 5 and 6 years. Let's see. Back into the chat. Where we at? There's a lot of chat I got to get to. Okay, here we go. Hit that like button. Thank you, Dan. Jenny's with us. Good morning, Jenny. Card Hobbyist is here. Augusta says, so basically I agree that Hall of Fame shouldn't just be total stats, but how you compare with the history of baseball in your position. I tend to agree with that for sure. Red Light 34, what is up? Flipping Sports Guy says, people say Rolen was top 3 in Gold Gloves. Keith Hernandez, Don Mattingly are 1 and 2 at Gold Gloves and not in, and guarantee you those first basemen save a lot of errors from third base. Yeah, go back to, we're not talking about Aramis Ramirez and his defense. Derek Lee should be in the Hall of Fame just for scooping up Aramis Ramirez's errant throws from the hot corner. Paul Heath, what's happening? Surprising Helton had a higher percent than Rolen did last report. And that was, we can go in. I've got the tracker open right now. Todd Helton, this is public ballots. How many public ballots? Basically 52% of the ballots. Todd Helton had 78.7% of public and anonymous votes. Scott Rolen was at 80.7%. So they were only 2 percentage points off, but the final voting, they were about 4 percentage points off. Let's see. Zach and Porter says Hall of Fame also tries to serve the purpose of being a museum. They will continue to merge the museum and Hall of Fame players, but continue to ignore a chunk of time that saved their game. Only C-League benefit. Exactly. Like Cooperstown's great, and I think this was mentioned in a private chat that I'm in. The museum, because some of the greatest players of all time are not enshrined with a plaque in Cooperstown, does that make the experience of the Hall of Fame museum any less? Absolutely not. But like somebody else in the chat said, call it the National Baseball Museum because it's not a true Hall of Fame when you have so many of the greatest players of all time, regardless of era, not enshrined with a plaque in Cooperstown. It's a disservice to the name Hall of Fame. Harlan, what's happening? And in PEDs or not. Dan says, I wonder if we ever see a current Hall of Famer give back their Hall of Fame jacket because it's embarrassing how the writers are diminishing the quality of the Hall of Fame. Never say never. I don't see that happening, but you never know. It could happen. John, that 70s card show. What is up? You're all wrong, and I wish you could stick around to tell you why, but Sundance awaits. Is that some Boomer reference, John? Boomer John. I love calling him Boomer John. Boomer John. Zach says, Hall of Fame voting impacts my collecting very little, minus how I store cards to trade. I continue to collect cards because of the memories of those players. Couldn't care less. Steve Ains Comedy, good morning to you. Flipping Sports Guy says, Rolen third in Gold Gloves. That's nice. Keith Hernandez is first at first base. Mattingly 2. Where are they? Outside looking in. Absolutely. And then you could use the home run argument and look at, I looked up WAR yesterday. So WAR, I think, and I know there's a group in I think you either appreciate the WAR stat or you hate it. And I think it's basically split down the middle. Half the people hate it, half the people like it. I like it. I'm team WAR. And you take a look at the WAR stat. The top 100 all-time WAR, 18. 18. That's a big number. Out of 100, 18% that are it's hard for me to say this because like Shoeless Joe Jackson, Pete Rose, are they eligible for the Hall of Fame? and I don't know if they ever were. Well, no, I know Pete Rose was never eligible, and I assume Joe Jackson was never eligible either for the Hall of Fame. So 18%, that number includes shoeless Joe Jackson and Pete Rose, of those eligible for the Hall of Fame, because there's guys with top 100 WAR all time that are not yet eligible. Albert Pujols, Miguel Cabrera. Those are two guys right off the bat. And I think there's actually a couple more. I think Adrian Beltre might be up there, and he's going to be on next year's ballot. 18%, though, are not in the Baseball Hall of Fame, top 100 all-time WAR. Let's see. Scott Rolen, a Hall of Famer, who you can add a graded rookie and graded auto to your collection for cheaper than you can the top prospect of the year. You know what's crazy? You can add a graded rookie of many Hall of Famers for less than the top couple prospects in the latest Bowman product. Was Griffey not part of the steroids? He's in. He played during that era, but his name was never attached to, any of those reports. John says there are fewer things that set absolute elite players apart. Foyer of Fame players have taken over. McGriff hit homers. Never the best player on his teams. I agree. I don't think Fred McGriff's one of those, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. But if you start, this guy's a Hall of Famer. If other guys are Hall of Famers, I guess Fred McGriff is. If Fred McGriff is, Scott Rolen is. If Scott Rolen is, Jimmy Rollins is. If Jimmy, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And now we have a Hall of Fame of thousands. Card Hobbyist says these writers have spent their whole careers denigrating the steroid users while not holding the league that enabled steroid use responsible. Yes, 100%. Now they continue keeping out worthy players. 100%. Jenny says, sidebar, before we get too deep into this, I think we're already too deep into this. Is your recycle can at your curb? Yes. Recycle and trash at the curb last night before dinner, in fact. Flipping Sports Guy, there are people with under 2K hits, but none since the 60s. Okay, maybe that's the stat. Johnny Bench had less, 2,048. Wow, I didn't realize Johnny Bench only had 2,048 career hits. The only benefit of Rolen getting inducted is getting to listen to the set registry guys complain about having to pay up for his slabs. There you go. That's why you got to pull the Mike Moynihan. You got to prospect. I think that's a really cool idea. Prospecting potential Hall of Famers like that. If you're a Hall of Fame collector, like that's one thing, but I would assume many, and I'm not going to say most, I would say many Hall of Fame collectors are buying stuff after the Hall of Fame, right? They're not prospecting Hall of Fame. I think that's cool. I think prospecting like Adrian Beltre, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He'll probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer next year. So buy his stuff now. Other guys that, and sometimes it's that sometimes that 5-year window is beneficial to getting cards on the cheap because these guys have that 5-year waiting period. So they're no longer active. Albert Pujols, his cards were at a premium this past year because he hits home runs. He's all of a sudden having a renaissance in his career. He hits 700 home runs. Boom, he's top. But we're at 2023? But in 2 years, he's still 3 years away from being on the Hall of Fame ballot, and he's 2 years removed from hitting his 700th home run. Out of sight, out of mind, especially in today's what have you done for me lately? You scoop those Albert Pujols cards up in a couple years, and you get them kind of at the bottom, and then all of a sudden, boom, after they're already in the Hall of Famer, then the majority of Hall of Fame collectors come in and swoop them up. And all of a sudden, you've saved yourself a lot of money in doing that. I think prospecting potential Hall of Famers is really cool. Let's see. Paige and DD Bean says, I think this is a good question. What is the Baseball Hall of Fame to you, everyone? To me, going to Cooperstown is way more than the members. And I think there's truth in that, because one of the people that mentioned that very comment in our chat said that it doesn't diminish his experience at Cooperstown. I've never been to Cooperstown, and it's really not something I'd like to get there someday, but it's not like on my short list of things to do. So to me, the Baseball Hall of Fame is like the elite, kind of what John mentioned, that 70s card show. Like the elite, the absolute greatest players of all time. Not Scott Rolen, not Harold Baines. That's what the Hall of Fame means to me. The Hall of Fame to me means an exclusive company of the all-time greatest baseball players, not a museum. And I think, if Cooperstown wants to play on the museum part, just call it the National Baseball Museum, because it's no longer a Hall of Fame. It's a Hall of Very Good. It's a Hall of Very Good. A lot of those dead ball era guys shouldn't have made the Hall either. And I think that's a good comment, because I think a century removed, we always have revisionist history. And I shouldn't say the word always. We tend to think in terms of revisionist history, where we always think our childhood era was the best. Oh, being a 90s kid was the best. In 20 years, the millennials are going to say, oh, growing up in the 2010s was the greatest era ever. John thinks growing up in the 70s was the best time ever. Uncle Rich thinks growing up in the 50s and 60s was the greatest time ever. My dad thought growing up in the 40s and 50s was the greatest time ever. My grandfather probably thought growing up in the 20s was the greatest era of all time. And it's a moving target, much like vintage is a moving target. That's a trigger alert, John. It's a moving target. And I think we have revisionist history on the dead ball era guys. And I think that is where we need to be careful of. We need to compare players of, we can't say Babe Ruth was the all-time greatest player, because, look at him. Have you ever seen Babe Ruth without his shirt on? And then you look at any player today, take the worst player, and I say that relatively speaking, take the worst player on the worst team, take the worst player in Major League Baseball, and he's more athletic than Babe Ruth. But Babe Ruth was the most athletic, or, well, maybe not, but he was the greatest baseball player of his era. And I think we need to pay a little more attention to, okay, how did this guy stack up with players of a certain age and era? And I think we look back at it with, rose-colored glasses. Steve Garvey needs to be in the Hall of Fame. Steve? Steve Garvey? Hey, Garvey gets my vote. Trigger alert, trigger alert. John Keating, if he had hair, is pulling it all out right now. Between vintage is a moving target and Steve Garvey is a Hall of Famer. Max says, but he has a higher WAR. God, if I had a nickel for the amount of times I heard that weak BS argument, I'd be able to clear eBay of Rolen cards. $1 for every $5 spent is 20%. There you go. And we all math differently. I do the 10%. I do 10% super easy for me. That's how I calculate. Let's see. Augusta says, yes, it was 2,077 hits for Rolen. Flipping Sports Guy says, sadly, WAR is the new Hall of Fame qualifier. The young writers are going to be basing it off WAR and WAR variations, and I'm okay with that. I think that's a good measure. I think WAR is a good measure, but not solely. I don't think there is a measure, one specific measure. It's not WAR, it's not the Jaws, it's not home runs, it's not batting average, it's not Gold Gloves or All-Stars. You have to take it all collectively. And that's, Scott Rolen, great defense, a lot of Gold Gloves, but his offense was weak. Zach says, however, I do care about Devin Hester getting into the Hall of Fame. I think Devin Hester should be in the Hall of Fame. I have no idea if he meets any of the criteria. He's been a semifinalist or whatever. But as a biased Chicago Bears fan, I'd say Devin Hester's a Hall of Famer. He should be. Change the game and is the greatest ever to do his job in one of the three phases of the game. I would totally agree with that. Steve says, hey, I got 100 listings this week and 5 sales. Now it's time for my shipping department to do their thing. Yes. There you go. By the way, my eBay sales have been going crazy this week. And here's a tip. Bowman has been going nuts in the last really like 3-4 days. It's really blown up. Bowman prospects have blown up. A lot of action on Bowman stuff. So, and I listed about 1,000 cards yesterday, mostly Pro Debut, Topps Heritage, and some Bowman. And I think today I'm going to do shipping in the morning and then focus on getting more Bowman listed this afternoon. Augusta got his 1,000 listing last night. Yes, that's the first benchmark. In your first 1,000 is the toughest. And it's once you get to 1,000, it's kind of like the is it the 10,000 hour rule, 20,000 hour rule, whatever that rule is. And that's kind of like with eBay, that once you get 1,000, you really start to understand your efficiencies, and you're able to really get down a good routine, and that just pushes you faster for 2,000. Let's see. Steve says, hey, people, make sure you hit the like button. Thank you, Steve. Mark says, good thing I go to Cooperstown for the history of the game and nostalgia. The voting process has become a head scratcher. 100%. You could offer to let people bring their own tables. I'm sure a handful probably have some. I have done that twice. And it's basically like, somebody says, hey, I had one guy and he's got great stuff and he had set up before, and he's like, I'm like, dude, I just don't have any tables left. And he's like, what if I bring my own? I'm like, yeah, I can find a spot for you. So yeah, that's definitely something I could do, because I do have, like, I have pretty limited space to squeeze, but I could squeeze, I think in my current setup, the main room is completely full. I can't fit any more tables in the main room. Oh shit, I said main room again. Upstairs ballroom. The mezzanine, I can squeeze probably 2 tables. Actually, no, I've had people bring in their, I had actually one guy, one table wasn't enough. He's like, hey, I've got a table in my car. Can I pay you an extra, table fee? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I could fit 2 tables in the mezzanine and probably 2 more in the Williamson ballroom downstairs. So I could probably squeeze in 4 more tables, make it a 130 table show. Let's see. Basement card collector. Well, hey, long time. Basement card collector, you're still pretty high in the standings on Name That Player. And I bought some new packs this past Saturday. So this Friday, we're going to play Name That Player. Basement card collector, I think you are, Uncle Rich is in first place, just running away. Scotty Dubs is in second place. Let's see. Third place. You are tied in third place. Basement card collector and the Minneapolis Kid with 7 points. And then who has 6 points? Card Hobbyist has 6 points. Max has 5 points. And then a handful of 1, 2, and 3 point. So this Friday, on the Friday free-for-all, we'll play Name That Player. And I've got a whole bunch of new packs. I've got football and baseball. So we'll take a vote. Maybe I'll pick like 5 packs and we can vote on the 5 packs that I choose. Let's see. Snow day for Jason. Let's see. If Billy Wagner makes it, Francisco Rodriguez needs to make it. Same numbers, and K-Rod actually led in categories that matter. Let's see. The Hall of Fame. What is the argument here? How to vote for a player? Do you compare to the players at his position only? Is he only compared to the people eligible that year? That's a great question. I don't know. I think players should be compared based on their era and probably at position. And that in like, where's the cutoff? Like Scott Rolen, based on like third baseman, ranks like in whatever, like 18th on third baseman. Can you search WAR by? I'd like to search WAR by position. And I know WAR, this is going to be a trigger for many people that don't like WAR. I'm sorry. But I think it's easier than diving into like 17 different stats. Well, he had a 290 batting average, but he only hit 200 career home runs. But he had this many of other things. Okay, so let's where is Baseball Reference? I'm on Baseball Reference. Let's see. What's StatHead? StatHead. Ooh, here we go. StatHead, baseball's most powerful search tools. I want to look at WAR. Let's just go to the StatHead page on Baseball Reference. Does anybody know how to search Baseball Reference for WAR by position? That's what I want to look up. I'm going to skip ahead into the chat. Nobody has answered that. So I'm going to rewind into the chat. Where we at? Okay. Let's see. We're way behind in the chat. So I'm going to try to get caught up in the chat, and then I'm going to try to find the Baseball Reference stats. Who let Oprah vote for the Hall of Fame? You get a Hall of Fame. You get a plaque. You get a plaque. You get a plaque. The writers need to have to learn in down ballot years. You don't have to select anyone. That's true. Cooter says, unfortunately, I think Oprah understands the game better than the baseball writers. Reppin' Rajon, what's up? TD Sports Cards, good morning. Reppin' Rajon listed and sold a Helton yesterday morning and then listed and sold a Rolen just after the announcement. That worked out really well. By the way, I think I sold more Jason Stark, Allen, and Ginter cards yesterday than Scott Rolen. I did move a couple Scott Rolen after the announcement, but all of my Allen and Ginter, Jason Stark cards, boom, boom, boom. Different buyers. It's like, what? Hall of Fame is subjective, not objective. The only requirements is to play 10 seasons in MLB and be retired inactive for 5 years. That's it. Nah, not really, because you have to be on the ballot. Because not all players to play 10 seasons make the ballot. I think that's right, because I'm sure there's been players that played 10 years that are not on the ballot. Everything else is opinion, which makes it fun to discuss. I agree, and it's because we all have varying opinions, and it really brings about great thought. A couch person oversleeps and thinks I'm missing the start of Hobby Evolution when they see light coming through the window. Uh-oh. Rollins at least has an MVP to his credit. I've always thought the only Philly from that championship team with a chance is Jimmy Rollins. Sal Dougie says, I'm a Hall of Fame liberalist. I'm on board with most of the people Bo listed earlier. I'm decent enough at math and geometry, but suck at using tools. I suck at math, geometry, and using tools. Triple crown. Agreed flippin'. Unfortunately, Howard was too old when he broke into baseball to get the career stats he needed. Same case as Abreu. Great player, but started too late. T206, what's up? Shoeless Joe was eligible at one point. It wasn't until the Rose situation that the Hall said they would not induct a player who is on the banned list. Oh, okay. Did not know that. Thank you for pointing that out. WAR is a hypothetical computation impersonating a stat. Yes and no. It is a computation, but it's like a compilation of different stats. It's not just made up. Let's see. If Howard got in the league earlier, he'd have a great chance. I agree with that. Ryan Howard. WAR is a great value accumulation tool, but at a minimum need to be viewed through a positional lens. I would agree with that. Ted, what's happening? He wants to know if anyone's going to Culture Collision in Atlanta this weekend. Herman says, I wanted to, but have another show that I have to make. May try to get there Sunday. Is it a card show or a chicken show, Herman? Now that's a true Culture Collision. Chickens and cards. Would love to go, but from New Jersey, too far of a trip. Steve says, when you go to sports card shows, do any of you hand out business cards to network? Oh yeah. I have my Madison card show, but I mean, it's usually I'm handing these out to dealers or I guess customers that I have these splayed out on my table. It's not focusing, but my Madison card show. And then I have my Hobby Evolution to promote my YouTube show. Let's see. Augusta says, just getting back into sports last year. I'm shocked there is no large shows up here with both Philly and New York so close. A lot of sports teams in a small area. Let's see. Thought Augusta equals Georgia. I'm in Haddonfield, New Jersey. Augusta, there should be quite a few shows. If you're like on the East Coast, there's shows everywhere. I'm guessing the Cherry Hill area. And I think we've talked about that before. Jenny says, I'm curious, does the AI on CDP get created by users? Like when I manually add one, does it save it for others? Sal Dougie says, I've made it to Cooperstown once. The museum was amazing. Low roller scratcher in the house. Yeah, I did move quite a few McGriffs yesterday and Scott Rollins. Let's see. I've been to Cooperstown. It was amazing, says Steve. LOL, yes, it's a national brand. I think your name threw off, same as me. Saw Augusta and assumed Georgia. I am in the same boat. I also thought he was from Augusta, Georgia. Ted says we're turning that on soon. Need to plug all the parallel holes. Lots of parallels don't have reference images in our database. Talking about Car Dealer Pro. Very nice. I had to up my scans on Car Dealer Pro yesterday. I had to buy additional scans because I've been using Car Dealer Pro a lot in the last week or so. Did about 900 yesterday. Zach says, question to Low Roller Scratcher. What kind of cards do you collect? I know you enjoy Bitcoin, but I don't believe you've ever talked about who you PC or which sport. That's a great Low Roller. Who you collecting? Did you know Billy Ray Cyrus card sold today? Did you see it? Yes, I did. You can still match to base on Car Dealer Pro, but then look up with parallel drop down. Let's see. Augusta sold 7 Rollins cards yesterday, which reminds me, huge thanks, Bo. I would have never known about it without you mentioning it, and you've been a huge help the whole way. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Jenny says, I'm also curious if cards are manual review. Do they count towards my monthly limit or only the ones that match? Augusta says, I'm a Phillies fan, so luckily had a decent amount of his cards, including some short print parallels. Max says, but Rolen was a top 10 third baseman. Yeah, third base historically sucked. That's kind of true. Just because he was top 10 at his position doesn't give him a pass. Rich says in the 1970s, the common thought was Garvey was a future Hall of Famer. And that's kind of like in the 80s. Don Mattingly, Bobby Bonilla. I mean, those guys, when I was a kid, and again, this is with a kid brain, a kid baseball brain. I thought Don Mattingly in 1988 was a surefire Hall of Famer. Same with Bobby Bonilla. And they're hanging out with Steve Garvey on the outside. So what's wrong with promulgating his candidacy? Let's see. John is too busy hanging with the Hollywood elite to be triggered. Yeah, John's not triggered yet. Let's see. There's a big Philly show 3 times a year. It used to be at the Valley Forge Casino, but they moved it to the Oaks Expo Center. Jenny says, I'm about 3,000 listings into it this past week. Excellent. Brendan says, I look at Babe Ruth and wonder how many home runs Steve Balboni would have hit in the 20s. I know, right? Or John Kruk. And have Bo use that StreamYard so people like John can call in. Bo gets my vote for 2023 YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame. I am not worthy. Let's see. Missed it last year on my calendar for this year. Meant like a Dallas level show. Is that big? Do you know? I mean, Philly's definitely one of the big show. There isn't another Dallas card show. Well, there is. It's called the National. There's not another Dallas level card show. I think Burbank is going to get to that level. I think Burbank will get to the Dallas card show level. But outside of that, Philly's probably one of the big ones. Culture Collision, Atlanta's a big one. What other big time card shows? Uncle Rich can really help me out here on this one, but Philly's definitely one of the big, I guess if you're like top 5 shows, I think Philly's probably in that conversation. Let's see. Flipping Sports Guy says all those big YouTube influencers come to Philly for that show. They rank it up there with Dallas and Burbank. Your Sammy Sosa should be in the Hall of Fame since he's the first player to hit 3 straight. I agree. I never hear anyone talking about it. Always hear National, Dallas, Burbank. That's good to know. Yeah, Philly's definitely up there. Philly's right up there with Dallas and Burbank. And Burbank's new. Like, there's only been, 1 show in Burbank? 2 shows maybe? I know their next show's, I think, next weekend. Yeah, a week from this weekend. Or maybe it's the second weekend in February. Burbank, California. Let's see. Terry says, I didn't realize how much promoted listings would help. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I should take a shot of my promoted listings graph because I went down to the minimum promoted level during Cubs convention, and like my bar charts are like, and then way back up. Tyler Back, what's up? Good morning. Kenny Lofton, 68 WAR, 2,400 hits, 299 career average, defense and speed. And Kenny Lofton. Let's see. Ted, skipped ahead. Where we at? Let's see. Oh, I skipped too far ahead, or did I? Let's see. Oh, wait, no, I didn't. Let's see. Where we at? There we are. Ted says, also the Fishtown show, Rivers Casino in Philly, and just had Brotherly Love show in Mount Laurel. Those are every couple months. Basement card collectors school got canceled. Sorting cards, listening in the basement. Yes. Diego, what's up? So, Jason, where are you at? Oh, wait, is this Jason Rockford Jason? The Cubs Rockford Jason? Let's see. Diego, what's happening? Because I don't think we have any. I didn't look out the window. I can't see out this window. There's too many card boxes in the way. I don't think we got any snow here. But Vic says Chicago got a bunch of snow. Brian Dean, what's up? Just Google war by position. That's what I did yesterday. I guess that's easier. I don't have to navigate around. Come on, computer. Let's close some of these tabs. There we go. Let's see. Rolen 9th by war for third baseman, I think. Okay. Brian, hello, friends. Hello, friends. Mark Grace was better than Rolen. Fight me. War by position. Here we go. Oh, and it brings up Baseball Reference. Trying to navigate Baseball Reference is as difficult as navigating eBay for like a specific question. Okay. Can I do all time? Oh, come on. I don't want season. Oh, shit. I just clicked on an ad. Oh, my God. Bo does not know how to computer. Okay, here we go. MLB wins all-time war leaders at each position. There we go. MLB.com. Thank you, Thomas Harrigan. Let's see. Guess who the all-time leader in war is out in left field? He's not in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds. Johnny Bench. Oh, this just says active leaders. I want a leaderboard. Let's see. Okay. Here we at. Where we at? My connection is unstable. Hope not. By the way, did you watch the Hall of Fame show last night on MLB Network? Scott Rolen apparently uses the same internet provider. His Wi-Fi signal was about as bad as mine. Let's see. Sort this page by war. Oh, thank you, Card Hobbyist. There we go. Robin Ventura, number 21. He'll eventually get in the Hall. Hey, with the way voting is going, Robin Ventura will get in eventually. WAR has multiple adjustments and is measured against a hypothetical replacement player that doesn't exist and is not static, therefore hypothetical. That sounds very mathy and beyond my scope of intelligence. So I'm going to take Cooter's word for it. I'm just going to bow down and not argue with that. Yes, there is a ton of small shows. I mean, I hear everyone talk about Dallas level shows. There's only like 3 Dallas level shows. The National, Dallas, and Burbank. And Philly's probably right there. But I would guess Philly's right there. Let's see. Yes, there's a ton of small shows. I mean, I hear we just talked about that. The only war that should matter is the players whose state got messed up for having to fight in one and therefore had less production. Doing this for John. He is a ski bunny. Enron would have made millions off of war. By the way, the vintage era is fixed and mayo sucks on fries. Damn, I need John in this chat. That's a terrible take. Mayo is the best condiment for French fries. Fight me. Mayo, good mayo, not just off the shelf Hellman's, but a good garlic aioli, a good mayo is the best. I mean, it's just fact. I'm sorry. Let's see. Victor with a link. Thank you. Philly is 300 plus vendors now. There you go. That's getting close to Dallas level. Speaking of which, what the fudge is up with the National not coming back to New Jersey? Because Atlantic City sucks. That's why it's not coming back to New Jersey. Atlantic City sucks. Thank God it's not going back to New Jersey. Paige and Deanie Bean, did you, Bo, see the Babe Ruth mixed up autograph George Brett? Yes. I get mistakes happen, but how can that happen? That's So that type of mistake, I make mistakes every day. We all make mistakes. And I guess I don't lose cards every day, or I don't mix up cards every day, but it's like, it's not uncommon for me to screw an order up on eBay when you're doing volume. And Panini obviously does volume with their baseball card sales. But putting a George Brett autograph on a Babe Ruth 1/1, that's akin to me slipping in a 1989 Topps Mark McGuire for a National Treasures 1/1 Barry Bonds auto. Like, how does that happen? Like, how can you mix up that bad? I don't understand. That is awful. I agree. Let's see. The East Coast National is my favorite. From Mark Marinello. Where are we at? Augusta says, I know Wildwood has a pretty decent sized show I need to travel to this year. Flipping Sports Guy says next Philly is March 10th through the 12th. They do early March, September, and early December. Augusta says that's it. March 10th is my birthday, and I knew there was a show. Then wife threw out last year's calendar and couldn't find it. And yes, went to Mount Laurel this past Sunday, was packed. There's another card show from January of this year. Every show I've heard has been packed in January 2023. I think we're catching lightning in a bottle. I think we're going to be let down in the ensuing months as far as card show traffic. And I was telling somebody that the other day, maybe even here on this video, I don't know. But I think my February show is going to be down from January. I think it's still going to be a busy show at Madison. And then March is going to be down because it's unfortunately the same weekend as the Spectacular in Chicago. And then I think maybe it'll see April, we'll see kind of a resurgence. I think, especially when it comes to monthly shows, I think your monthly shows will see one show per quarter kind of eclipse the other two shows in that quarter. That's kind of what I feel is going to happen, at least in 2023, as far as card show traffic. I think January for all shows is going to be packed because, from what I experienced firsthand, people took off really going back to September and October. Those were two of my weakest shows. And then they started filtering back in November, December. I had a really good December show, and then January blew it all out of the water. And I think February, people got out and maybe skipped February in March, and then boom, hey, I haven't been to the show in a couple months. I'm going to go to the April show. And I think it's just going to that's going to happen at most monthly shows. Okay, F&H Media, good morning from Iowa. What is up? Snowy here, might need to sort cards. There you go. Max says, ironically, your signal just choked out when you said that. You were super choppy, keep cutting out. Yeah, I've got Scott Roland's internet this morning. Based on war, you are totally in the YouTube Hall of Fame. First ballot. No other creator is as dedicated to the hobby. I would disagree with that, but I appreciate you saying that. Herman had to reboot, had Robot Bow. Brian Baker, what's up? Good morning to you. F&H says, can't hear you. Sounds like your mic is dead or jacked up. Okay. Okay. Well, some people say my mic is good. F&H can't hear me. Augustus says I lost it. Jenny can hear me. Max says, call me a psycho, but French fries are best enjoyed plain. A good French fry? I agree. I can eat plain French fries. Jenny says, hit your... So if you can't hear me, well, you can't hear me give you instructions, so listen to Jenny on the chat. Hit your refresh. F&H says, all better. Sometimes when the regional server has a glitch, it affects an area. That's interesting. I had to try I have not tried the avocado mayo. It keeps coming up. It's going to come up on my Facebook again because I'm talking about it in Facebook listens. I had to try the avocado mayo on fries after hearing Bo talk about it, and I would have to agree. Mayo is delicious on French fries. But, hey, a good French fry I can eat plain. McDonald's fries. I enjoy McDonald's fries plain. I don't put ketchup on McDonald's fries. Let's see. 100% agree with mayo. Thank you. I finally got some people on the mayo train. Bo, you're my new favorite morning sports card talk host. Mayo and honey mustard and barbecue and lemon juice equals Chick-fil-A sauce. And I don't know if I've ever had this may be mind-blowing to some. I don't think I've ever had Chick-fil-A sauce. Because when I eat Chick-fil-A, not regularly, but quite often, I just get everything plain. And Chick-fil-A fries, actually, most fast food fries, I don't use ketchup or any other, or mayo or any condiments. I just eat fast food French fries. I eat plain. Cooter says, got the chat redirected to food. You are welcome, Uncle Rich. Basement card collector, I can hear you, but my chat is not showing up like usual. Andrew can hear me. Sounds good over here. Okay, good deal. Bo says, listen to Jenny for refresh troubleshoot as she is the vice president. Avocado mayo sounds delish. Got to find me some. I think Costco carries it. Avocado mayo, which I like avocado and I like mayo. Flipping Sports Guy. It's been pretty rare for me to enjoy McDonald's fries unless you're eating at the store. They're cold and suck by the time you go to eat them. It's been pretty rare for me to enjoy McDonald's fries. That was a double comment. You have to eat McDonald's fries dry because they don't put condiments in the bag. Well, that's another good point. Usually I'm eating McDonald's in my car, like driving anyway. When you eat fast food, like I eat in my car. And there's probably a McDonald's French fry like on the floorboard right now in my car. My wife thinks that's disgusting. That's why we always take hers. But I think I like 95% of the time I eat my fast food in the car. Even like Saturday, coming home from the Madison Card Show, I stopped at Burger King because sometimes I want a Whopper. So I stopped at Burger King, and Burger King is like 10 minutes from my house, and I'm driving home to my house. But what did I do? I just pulled off. There's a big parking lot next to Burger King, and I just parked in the parking lot and ate my Burger King and then drove home instead of driving home to eat my Burger King. I don't know what it is. I like eating my fast food in the car. I don't know if that's weird or if that's common. What do you say? Let's see. Max says, want to know a game changer on McDonald's fries? Eat one at a time. Crazy, but try it. So I'm curious. Why? What makes that a game changer? I am super curious about this. I'm speechless. What makes eating a single McDonald's fry one at a time a game changer? I thought you were going to say like put like hot sauce or honey mustard, which by the way, I enjoy honey mustard. I like stuffing as many McDonald's fries as I can in my mouth at one time. That's my game changer. Like, oh, give me all of the fries. And they're like falling out of my mouth. That's why there's French fries on my floorboard, because I'm just I'm putting my paw in that McDonald's fry box and then I just sweep it off onto the floorboard. I'll clean it eventually. I'm curious, Max, come on, you have to answer this question. You can't leave me on this cliff. I want to know why eating one McDonald's French fry at a time is a game changer. What makes that a game changer? Max, answer me. There we go. I'm not sure. I found they taste better. I don't do sauce, butter, mayo on really anything. Ham or turkey sandwich equals bread, meat, and cheese. And sometimes that's better. A ham sandwich, I prefer a good ham, like a good ham sandwich, like deli ham, not like Oscar Mayer processed meat. But a good ham is better with just bread. Just ham and not cheese, ham and bread. That's like my favorite. Like that's growing up. So growing up, and sadly, the IGA that I grew up walking 2 blocks to the Uptown Anawan IGA to buy my baseball cards, or Dick Tracy cards, or New Kids on the Block cards, or WWF Classic cards. And then I worked there in high school. The IGA, where was I going with this? Shit. where was I going with this? What was, ham, the ham sandwiches. So they had what were called White Mountain buns. And they were basically just buns with like white powder on them, which I think is probably just flour. But they were so good. And that was like my dad's favorite food. My dad was a very simple man. His favorite going out meal was a hot roast beef from Arby's and an orange milkshake, or an orange shake or whatever they have at Arby's. And and BLTs and sweet corn. Like that was, he could have lived on that like his entire life. He would get, his eyes would light up. If there was an Arby's nearby, is there an Arby's nearby? Yeah, just down the street. And he would just get like almost like sexual about his Arby's food. I want a hot ham and cheese and an orange milkshake. Just very dramatic about his Arby's order. Rest in peace, Dad. And the White Mountain buns, ham sandwich on a White Mountain bun. Oh my God, that was heaven to my dad. So yeah, I think he put butter. I think he would butter up the the sweet White Mountain bun. He would butter up the White Mountain bun, put some ham on it. Let's see. Harlan says that's the game changer. No fries on the floor. There you go. That's the game changer. I don't have half-eaten French fries on the floor. Let's see. Card hobbyist eats fast food in the car as well. Okay, I'm not alone. Floorboard McDonald's fries are good for 10 years. You could not tell the difference. That's probably true. Let's see. Take the napkins out of the bag first, or they will end up as greasy as your fingers. That's also there's a lot of truth in that. Sounds like Bo is making a trip to McDonald's this afternoon and go live eating one at a time, putting Max's game-changing food test to the test. Is eating one single McDonald's French fry a game changer? Terry says putting some of the fries on the burger is the real game changer. I've never tried that. I'm a simple man when it comes to McDonald's. My McDonald's order is the same every time, but you know, when I pull up, I still like get the deer in headlights. Like I know what I'm going to order, but there's just that indecision at the beginning as I look at the menu. I know I'm going to order the 2 cheeseburger meal, but maybe, no, 2 cheeseburger meal. Let's see. Jenny says, Andrew, that is accurate. In high school, we did a research project of putting a McDonald's burger on the shelf out of the wrapper. 3 years later, I could have given it to you and you would think it was new. Yeah. And we're putting that stuff in our bodies. And even though I know it's disgusting and there's all kinds of crap in McDonald's and other fast food, I continue to eat it. Sal says, I've eaten BK in that same parking lot. Yes, Odana Road, in front of the Burlington Coat Factory. Yes, they don't mold due to the chemicals in the food. Now, Card Hobbyist wants some Checkers fries. Where's Uncle Rich? He's missing Food Talk again. We delayed Food Talk today, and he's gone. Yesterday, we talked about it, and he left. Let's see. Jenny says, I also have not eaten fast food in 12 years. My goodness. Good for you. PB&J for the road if I know I won't be home for a meal. I should probably do that. My guts would thank me. My growing waistline would thank me. Paige and Dini Bean want some tater tots. You forgot Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cards and the Simpson cards. Ah, yes, Simpson cards for sure. And I'm pretty sure I bought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. When Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, I was like, that was my thing. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in a Half Shell, Turtle Power. Or Heroes in a Half Shell, Turtle Power. Michelangelo was my favorite, by the way. Mark says, I eat fast food once a year at my Super Bowl party. It's the who's who of what not to eat. White Castle and KFC are the highlights. It's the reason I take off work the next day. I'm a KFC is on the bottom of my totem pole in terms of fried chicken fast food. Popeyes, number 1, without question. Love me some Popeyes chicken. What's the one out? What was the other one? Churches. Churches is good. I had one when I was at spring training last year. I can't remember. It might have been Churches. I don't know. There's another one. There's another big one that's super popular. Maybe it's a Southern thing. Let's Google top fast food chicken. And I'm not talking chicken sandwiches. I want Bojangles is a popular one. I don't know if I've ever had Bojangles chicken. Now I'm getting hungry for chicken. It's only 8:00. Let's see. Okay, this goes backwards. Give me the number one. Popeyes. This is from tasteofhome.com. The best fast food fried chicken, and we agree, number one, Popeyes. Number two, they've got Chick-fil-A. Does Chick-fil-A have like chicken? Can you like order chicken and not just a sandwich? I do like Chick-fil-A sandwiches. Let's see. Number three is Church's chicken is number four. I think that's what I had down in Arizona. Number three, it's free. Jollibee. I've never heard of Jollibee. Is that like a regional? Let's see. Doesn't even say. Number four, we said was Church's. Number five, we're talking best fast food fried chicken. Wingstop. I had Wingstop for the first time when my wife went to Florida, and it was like the first night. It's like that first night when your wife leaves town, and it's like, I'm going to eat. Why do we do that as men? That's why men have shorter lifespans, because we go out and just drink beer and eat shitty food. Wingstop, number five on this list. Taste of Home, best fast food fried chicken. Shake Shack. I've never had Shake Shack. I think we have one here now in Madison. Raising Cane's is number seven. I don't think I've had Raising Cane's either. Number eight, Jangles, which I've also never had. Let's see. Number nine, I believe, is Zaxby's, if my computer will stop freezing. And number 10, KFC's number 10. Just snuck in the top 10. Where are we at? Okay, so I would say Popeyes is number one on my list. Let's see. Here we go. Andrew wants to know what kind of trading cards Low Roller collects, asking for a friend. Max says, I eat at home, but I'm also less than 5 minutes from any of the fast food joints I frequent. But I understand the pull over and eat thing after living in Madison and St. Louis. Arby's, sensational. Life is too short to eat healthy. Ain't that the truth? Bojangles. Popeyes. Love me some Popeyes. Raising Cane. There you go. Let's see. My kids, Paige and Dean, are not patrons of McDonald's or any fast food. I've instructed them that it's made from cardboard and chemicals and has limited dietary value, which is the truth. Let's see. Bojangles is the best along with their seasoned fries. Uncle Rich loves his French fries. He used to borrow mine from time to time. Max says Chick-fil-A is number one. Popeyes is nasty. Max is terrible taste. Come on, man. Where the heck is KFC? Original recipe is like Coke to me. I am not, after like growing up, KFC was like the only, like in rural Illinois, KFC was like the only chicken place. So growing up, KFC, like, KFC is good. But now after, in half of those chicken places I haven't even had, but KFC ranks last on other chicken that I've had. Let's see. They just want the toys from the fast food joints anyway. That's true. That's what I wanted as a kid. Personalities and favorite Ninja Turtles. Leonardo, ambitious, loyal, honorable. Donatello, shy, intellectual, witty. Michelangelo, impulsive, reckless, humorous. I am definitely impulsive and reckless at times. Raphael, introvert, cool, sensitive. So, of those personality traits, I think I match with Leonardo. I am ambitious and loyal. Donatello, I am not shy. I am not intellectual. I wouldn't consider myself witty. Michelangelo, I'm definitely impulsive. I am at times reckless. In humorous, I would say I'm more humorous than witty. I'm not witty. I would say I'm more humorous than witty. Raphael, I'm not an introvert. I am not cool, and I'm somewhat sensitive. Let's see. Augustus says, and yes, we know that McDonald's fries have never lasted the trip home since we were knee-high to a grasshopper. You just can't resist the smell on the trip home. Ain't that the truth? McDonald's had a beef Wennington in the 90s that was delicious. Always liked Bill Wennington. Instruct your kids to go to Whole Foods and they can be poor the rest of their lives. It's whole paycheck. Whole Foods, whole paycheck. So that's what I had for today. Hall of Fame talk and food talk. So with that, I'm going to go get some shipping done, get some listing done. Link to my eBay store is in the description. McDump. I will be adding some Bowman prospects. Those have been flying out of my eBay store this week. So I'll be adding some Bowman prospects to the eBay store. Check out the link, buy 7 or more at regular price, and you'll receive an automatic 25% off at checkout. This Saturday, I'll be at the card show in Rockford, Illinois, at the IBEW Banquet Hall, 9 to 3. I'll have a whole bunch of 25-cent boxes. And if you want to buy the whole box, I'll give you a good deal. So come see me in Rockford this Saturday. Tomorrow, we'll talk again, 7 a.m. Central for Hobby Evolution. Friday, we'll do the free-for-all with Name That Player, and we'll take a vote. I've got fresh inventory on junk wax packs. So we'll play Name That Player, and we'll take a vote. So with that, hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we'll talk tomorrow.